This game is a new RPG that looks pretty cool and it seems to be flying below a lot of people's radar. So in today's video, we wanted to give you the full rundown on what this game is, as over the last few months, the devs have actually been revealing more information about it and how it will stack up against other action RPGs in the genre. So tell us below what you think of it, and here is a quick recap for those of you that are seeing the game for the first time. This game is called the First Berserker Khazan, and as per the name, it follows a character called Kazan. This character is a hero in the world of DNF, and for this game, even though Kazan is a renowned hero having felled the Berserk dragon, he's been framed and exiled by the empire that he once called home, and now that very same empire is in pursuit of him. The developers actually have a description of it in a bit more detail, saying the First Berserker Khazan is a game that adapts the universe of DNF, dealing with the story of Osmar and Kazan. The player will become the hero Kazan, the ancestor of all slayers, and the one who defeated Hismar the Berserk dragon, proceeding to uncover the truth of his downfall within the empire. So if slaying dragons and action RPGs sounds like it's good to you, then you'll want to know that it comes out on PlayStation, Xbox and PC, but there isn't currently an official release date just yet, but they have been ramping up on showing more and more of the game, so we're guessing we will get a release date soon. It's actually had a funny development history with this one, as it originally started life out as a completely different concept and it was called Project Barbecue back then. It actually did look pretty cool and it was meant to be a massively multiplayer action game based on the DNF universe, which is super popular in other regions. We were personally pretty excited for that one, and it looked like the multiplayer anime RPG that we've been wanting, but it kept getting pushed back and back all the time with very little information from the developers. But over the last few years, it has been announced that the developers actually pivoted the focus of this project to be a single-player game, rather than the selection of characters that we previously saw when it was Project Barbecue. So what exactly is the game now? The developers described the First Berserker Khazan as a hardcore action role-playing game. They say that it's a fast-paced hack and slash with hardcore elements to it that means it's going to have somewhat similar systems to something like Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, and of course the Dark Souls games, but with a much faster pace to the action. We actually get to see a bit of this in the gameplay, and we can see the player performing various actions in quick succession while also having to master defensive actions such as parrying and blocking in order to be successful. We know that the game allows the player to find gear and improve the main character as well. As in the official description of the game, it says the First Berserker Khazan is an RPG with various equipment and perks to customize your own way of growth. You play as the protagonist Kazan, upgrading not only character abilities but also combining different types of weapons and armor abilities to match your playstyle. And then to further add with that depth of customization, in a recent interview with Life, the developers expanded on if there will be skill trees in the game and the other ways that we can tailor the game to our own playstyle. They were saying that there will be a skill tree to unlock new capabilities and that they've invested a lot of time into making it interesting and taking inspiration from how it works in the DFO games. In the gameplay trailer, it looks like there will be weapons or abilities to find out in the world, as we see Kazan interact with this sword and then drain something from it. For us, the gameplay does remind us of Wo Long or Sekiro, and it's just giving that vibe off with its spicy finishes and the focus on parries. We do know, however, this isn't everyone's cup of tea, as having to parry can be a struggle for some people, but they do seem to emphasize the different variety of playstyles for players to choose from, so we're hoping that there will be one where you don't need to always deal with just parrying. For those of you wondering if the game has retained any of the multiplayer elements back from when it was Project Barbecue, it has been confirmed that this isn't the case, as in an interview with Life, they said it will be more linear and not an open world focused action RPG, but don't think you'll be getting a massive open world like Elden Ring. During some reveals over the last couple months, players have been lucky enough to go hands-on with the game as well. The devs have been holding focus test sessions, and the impression that they got was pretty positive from the content creators and gamers, with one called ONG Bal saying, "I went to the First Berserker Khazan FGT for the past 3 days. It was challenging and fun, the action was good, especially following the Lies of P. I think this will be another anticipated game for me." And this is pretty high praise considering how much people liked Lies of P, so maybe we have another banger on our hands with this one, but of course only time will tell. I will say, however, looking at the trailer, the game does seem to have some frame rate issues, and maybe this is just a trailer thing, which would be quite unusual in of itself, but the frame rate just doesn't seem to be looking great, with it hitting around 10 to 20 in some of these scenes. After the performance issues that we had with Dragon's Dogma 2, we are even more on edge about performance issues in games, so it'll be nice to get confirmation from the developers on what they are targeting this game to hit when it comes to the FPS. As with any action game, a 60 FPS average would of course be very preferable, and in the trailers some of the scenes look really good when the frame rate is actually functioning the way it looks like it's meant to. But going a bit deeper into the trailer, there's a few cool things that are worth calling out and bringing to your attention. We can see here that Kazan will be wielding 2 different weapons, and that they actually seem to swap hands during the trailer, as sometimes the axe is in their left hand and in other times it's in their right. Maybe this has an impact on the actual combat in the gameplay, with different attacks being tied to different weapons. It also looks like players will have the option to use abilities that allow for some ranged attacks. As you can see here in the trailer, the player is throwing a spear at an enemy. In addition to this, there seems to be a symbol that appears when the player is in combat, and this could have something to do with Kazan's Berserker abilities, as in the DNF universe, the abilities that the Berserker class has usually allows them to deal increased damage at the cost of health, as well as being able to siphon health off of enemies, and since we know they are taking heavy inspiration from the core DFO universe, we are betting that this will play a factor. In general, the game is looking pretty solid, but with it going up against some real beasts in this genre, it will have to be super polished or do something very unique to stand out in a tough crowd. The devs do seem to be holding back on some of the cool bits of information at the moment, so hopefully we can learn more about that soon. And make sure to subscribe down below to keep up to date on our daily gaming videos, news and guides.